Have you ever wondered what goes on behind the scenes when countries try to appoint diplomats?
Hmm.
It might sound like pretty dry, technical stuff, but as we'll see today, it can actually reveal some really deep underlying political tensions and have significant real-world impacts, too.
Indeed. Sometimes, the most seemingly bureaucratic procedures are precisely where the true challenges in international relations are laid bare.
And that's exactly what we're diving into today. So our mission here is to unpack a recent flashpoint between two significant African nations, the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, and Kenya.
Right.
We're going to explore a very specific diplomatic disagreement over a consular appointment, try to understand the nuances of international law that are at play here, and really see how deeply local conflicts can ripple through international relations.
Yeah, and for this deep dive, we're drawing directly from a recent statement by the Congolese Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It details their objections to Kenya's nominations, and we also have Kenya's response.
And what's particularly striking about this whole thing is just how current it is. We're talking about news that only broke on August 16th, 2025. So this is a very live diplomatic challenge.
Very much so.
It's also worth noting, I think, that Presidents William Ruto of Kenya and Felix Tshisekedi of the DRC, they actually met back in November 2022 in Kinshasa. So there's an established relationship there.
There is, yeah.
Given that context, what exactly happened to cause this, well, this diplomatic kerfuffle now?
Well, it started when Kenya made some key nominations recently. President William Ruto nominated Judy Kyerema as Kenya's Consul General to Goma,
Okay.
and also Moni Manyang as the new deputy head of mission to the DRC, based in Kinshasa.
Right. And here's where the friction started, specifically with that Goma appointment, wasn't it?
Yeah,
It seems the DRC didn't really have an issue with the Kinshasa nomination, but Goma, that drew a very strong reaction. Why was that particular posting such a sticking point?
That's the absolute core of the disagreement. The Congolese Ministry of Foreign Affairs, they put out a strong statement basically reminding Kenya that under international law and established diplomatic procedures, any head of a foreign consular post on its territory requires prior approval. That was the key phrase.
Prior approval.
And they even specifically mentioned meeting an exequatur issued by their ministry in Kinshasa.
An exequatur, what exactly is that?
Think of it as the host country's formal official document granting permission for a foreign consul to actually do their job there. It's not just a formality, it's a critical step.
I see. So it wasn't just a simple procedural oversight then. It sounds like there was more to it.
Precisely. And this is where it gets, really complex. The DRC didn't just object on a technicality, they actually termed Kenya's announcement inappropriate.
Inappropriate? Why?
Because Goma, the city where the consul would be based, is currently under what the DRC described as illegal occupation by the M23 rebel group.
Ah, M23, right? They've been a significant factor in the instability in eastern DRC for years, haven't they?
A huge factor. And this isn't just a political claim from the DRC side about the occupation either. No, we're talking about real human cost here. The DRC government highlighted that this occupation is marked by grave human rights violations against civilians.
Wow.
And that's a point that's been corroborated by recent United Nations reports. So their concern is deeply rooted in that reality, the situation on the ground.
Okay, so the fear is
What?
that appointing a consul there somehow normalizes the M23 presence.
That's exactly it. Any announcement about a consul in Goma, particularly one made without their explicit consent first, could be perceived, they argue, as legitimizing the ongoing occupation.
I see. It's a very deliberate diplomatic message they're sending.
Very deliberate. It's about optics, international recognition, sovereignty, not just paperwork.
That's a powerful point. It really highlights how international law, even if it seems rigid, is just deeply intertwined with political signaling. A procedural step like an exequatur can become a real battleground.
Especially in conflict zones, yes. And the DRC explicitly warned that just proceeding with the appointment without their consent could heighten diplomatic tensions between Nairobi and Kinshasa.
Which is significant because both countries are pretty key players in regional peace and security efforts, right?
Absolutely key players. Though it's worth noting, despite these really strong objections, the DRC did reaffirm its commitment to constructive bilateral relations with Kenya. They still want a good relationship, basically.
Okay, so that's the DRC's very clear position. But Kenya had a counter-argument, didn't they?
Yep.
They essentially said, hold on, you're jumping the gun here.
They did. Foreign Affairs Principal Secretary Career Singoye responded by calling the DRC's reaction premature.
Premature. What was their reasoning? How did they justify announcing it?
Well, Kenya's perspective, their argument, is that their standard diplomatic practice dictates seeking what they call agrément or consent, which is essentially that formal approval for the person.
Right.
They seek that from the DRC after the nominee receives parliamentary approval back home in Kenya, not before.
Ah, okay. So for Kenya, it was more about the internal timeline. Get parliamentary backing first, then ask the host country.
That seems to be their position. You know, it's like planning their side of things first. But the DRC is saying, wait a minute, you're announcing this publicly for a really sensitive location like Goma before we've even given our okay.
So for Kenya, it was a question of timing in their procedural steps.
Yeah,
But for the DRC, the timing combined with the location made it a much bigger issue.
exactly. It collided with the political reality on the ground in Goma.
So what does this all mean for us, for the listeners? This situation really highlights this intricate dance between strict diplomatic protocol and the challenging, often brutal realities on the ground, especially in conflict zones like Goma. It's a fascinating glimpse, really, into how international relations work. It's not just about grand treaties.
It really is. And why should this matter to you? Why should you care about this diplomatic back and forth?
Yeah.
Because it illustrates how even seemingly small diplomatic actions, like appointing a consul, can have pretty significant implications for regional stability.
Right.
For relations between these key players.
Yeah.
These kinds of disagreements, they can ripple outwards. They could potentially impact broader peace efforts, maybe humanitarian aid, and ultimately they affect the everyday lives of people in those regions.
That really underscores the gravity, doesn't it? So just to kind of bring it all together for everyone listening, we've seen Kenya's nominations, particularly the one for Goma.
Yep.
And the DRC's dual objection. First, based on diplomatic protocol, the need for prior approval, and an exequatur.
A procedural point. Yeah.
Exactly. But crucially, their second, and perhaps more potent, objection was the specific, very sensitive context of Goma's illegal occupation by M23 rebels, that fear of legitimizing it.
Right. And then Kenya, on the other hand, viewing the DRC's reaction as premature, citing their own standard practice, getting consent after their internal parliamentary green light.
Which leaves us with a really thought-provoking question, doesn't it?
It does. How do nations navigate this tightrope walk between upholding international diplomatic norms, the rule book, essentially, and responding to the urgent, messy realities of on-the-ground conflict, especially when one side views that conflict as an illegal occupation?
Yeah, what does this specific incident tell us about the power of communication, or maybe the lack of it, in these, quite fragile diplomatic relationships?
It's a sharp reminder, I think. A reminder of how these seemingly bureaucratic issues can reflect much deeper geopolitical currents, and ultimately how they can impact everyday lives.
Definitely something to consider. How these interactions might influence future cooperation, or perhaps even escalate tensions in ways we don't immediately foresee.